Hey, I'm Jeremy. Welcome back to Rugby Informer. We're just taking a look at 3 players that we think should be in the Springboks squad for the Autumn Nation series. Now, first and foremost, Sanele Nohamba is a guy I thought probably would have got the nod from Rassie Erasmus for these games against Wales, Scotland, and England. He's been having a really, really good URC so far. Every game he's played, he's made a huge impact. Whether he's come off the bench or he started, he's been really, really effective. Whether he's playing a very expansive trademark Lions game, distributing the ball around, or playing a more tactical kicking game like we saw in recent URC rounds with the Lions playing up in Europe, he's just got a very well-balanced gameplay style, whether it's being a bit more conservative and looking for territory with his kicking or trying to unlock the backs around him. Nohamba seems to have all the skills and he himself is a proper threat. When he finds himself in space, he seems to shred defenders and get around people with relative ease. And despite his size, he's an incredibly physical player, likes to drop his shoulder and take contact. And on the defensive side of things, he seems to have no issues taking down some of the bigger boys floating around the field. And one of his kind of draw cards is also that, he is predominantly a scrum half, but he has the ability to play fly half. He's played quite a bit of fly half for the Lions where need be. And he's actually done really well when he's standing deep in that pocket and he finds a mismatch in front of him. His passing game's excellent, so he has the ability to get the ball out wide very quickly. So that dynamic versatility of Nohamba would have caught the eye of the Springbok selectors and got him involved because they seem to like players that have the ability to chop and change positions, especially when there's a forward-dominated bench. They need backline players who have the ability to kind of move around the field and become little Swiss Army knives, so to speak. So I'm pretty sure Sanele Nohamba will find a green jersey at some point in time. I thought maybe this would have been a pretty good tour for him to go on, given that he's just been playing in Europe and seems to thrive in those weather conditions. But yeah, hopefully he gets a shot soon. And secondly is Asti Analysis. He is an absolute monster for the Lions so far this season. He's been absolutely rinsing other teams' scrums, smashing players in tackles, carries very well. Players just seem to fall off him. And for a guy of his size, the way he can get around the field, his athleticism, his endurance is very impressive. I think a guy like him would add a lot of value to the Springboks. Obviously, the scrum is a huge part of the Springbok game plan, and he's just shown what he can do when it comes to those set pieces. He's absolutely crunched most of the opposition. And with Frans Malherbe's injury, would have been a perfect opportunity to bring in another tight head prop like Nhlabakani, who can do the damage and do the job quite easily. So yeah, again, another Lions player who will likely find his way into that Springbok squad at some point in time. It's just a matter of when, probably not if. Would have been nice to see him going over and taking on that English scrum, but I guess Asanati will just have to wait for another day. And thirdly, after the injury to Damian Willemse when the Stormers played Glasgow this past weekend, I would have thought his fullback partner in crime, Warrick Gelant, would have got pulled back into the Springbok squad. He's a guy who's been there. He's been a part of the World Cup campaigns in the past. Since his return to the Stormers, he's been excellent linking up with Damian Willemse. He's been really competent at fullback, playing really well on attack and defense. His kicking game's really improved. He just seems like a guy who could slot back into the Springbok team, knowing that the systems and how everything works there. And after Willemse's injury, they've called up Cameron Honeycomb from the Bulls, a loose forward who's more than deserving of a shot. But it is a weird replacement when there's probably a fullback that's needed. Of course, Apelela Fassi and Vili Leroux are there to manage most of the fullback responsibilities. But I think having a guy like Warrick Gelant who can also slot onto the wing and float around the field, do a bit of midfield work, would have been quite valuable. Whether Gelant gets his shot at the Springboks again is up for debate. I think he's a really good player, and it's not a slight on the players that have been selected. Apelela Fassi has been the standout star ever since he got the opportunity to get his first cap. But yeah, it would have been nice to see Gelant back. He's a guy who's probably right up there on the list if any injuries or anything happens. So we'll see how things pan out. These test matches can often be quite grueling on the bodies. Wouldn't be surprised if some of these players get called up and have to jump on a jet pretty quickly. But that's just what we think. What do you think? Who do you think should have made the Springbok squad? Are there any players that you think Rassie is currently overlooking at the moment? Please comment down below. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. Please follow us on the socials. And we'll see you in the next one.